Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
It never fails. Danger goes away. We got things to talk about. Welcome. Although it's one of those stories, Tim, that it's not surprising, but it stings.
Yeah,
It
not good news, but it is news.
It is news.
Kind of saw it coming, not necessarily this quickly, but
it was like a slow train, like here it comes.
And here it is.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. Welcome to the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider today. Mike Danger over in Europe. I did hear from Danger. We were not in on Friday, but he did text me on Friday, and I looked at the time, and I'm like, oh, it's like midnight his time. So he's having a good time over there, I can tell you that.
Awesome.
Yeah, then he'll be back. So it's me and you this week, buddy, as we have lots to talk about. Coming up on the show today, and then we'll get to this local story that is going to be, a lot of people have thoughts on here. We'll talk to Brayton Wilson. We haven't talked to our friend Brayton, who for many years covered the Amherst. He's with WBEN in Buffalo doing news, but he certainly covers the Buffalo Sabres. And I don't know anything about the NHL draft. I'm not going to pretend to know anything. The draft coming up at the end of this week, so we'll get some Sabre talk in coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Bottom of this hour, the newly engaged Ryan Hickey, Hot Take Hickey, who you've heard on his own show on the Infinity Sports Network. He's also part of the Bill Ryder show, Ryder Than You, which you hear weekdays 10 to noon here on the Fan Rochester. So Ryan Hickey to talk. Invited him on, Tim, thinking, okay, our lead story, and we could still talk about this, where, all right, that didn't go as any of us expected. It was kind of a horrific ending to the NBA season, if you ask me. But, did the NBA actually do their teams wrong by, allowing for a blockbuster trade to kind of upstage, what should be, a great night of basketball, Game 7. At least you want everybody tuning in, but that's not what we're talking about with the Durant trade. We will talk to Ryan Hickey coming up at the bottom of this hour. Your calls are always welcome, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can reach us on Twitter, our handle, X, whatever they call it, The Fan Rochester, and we've got already some feedback there, Tim. I'm just going to read the statement, and then we'll offer up for some commentary. How's that sound?
I like it.
Okay.
Dive in.
So, actually, before the statement, we're on the Amherst news releases. I see Rochester Americans reach 5-year deal with VenueWorks. Yay. And for folks who haven't been following along, it was in the spring of 2024 that, we can't call them Pagula Sports and Entertainment. We'll just say the Rochester entities of Terry Pagula walked away from the management of the Blue Cross Arena, and therefore it was going to be put up for bid. Well, that time has come, and we knew that this outfit, VenueWorks, was coming in. And basically, they run the arena. They're responsible for the staffing and the concessions and everything that is being booked, not just sports-related, but, hey, if you want a concert or a comedian or something like that, that's the new company. It's no longer an outfit owned by Terry Pagula. Well, when you have somebody else owning the arena, you have, finger quotes here, tenants. And the biggest tenant, I hate using that word because, honestly, they're bigger than anything and going into the arena. It's the Rochester Americans. The Amherst announcing a 5-year deal now with the arena. Great. Not that we were worried about the Amherst. Wait a second.
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. I'm like, okay, that half a second where is the statement from the Nighthawks? Where is everything? Well, the Nighthawks didn't email everyone. They just put it up on their website. This is the statement from Pete Guelli, Chief Operating Officer, who I will also point out is an Aquinas grad. Rochesterian, got his start here. Nighthawks statement. As of June 30th, we will no longer operate the Rochester Nighthawks. We have been working closely with the National Lacrosse League, and we will continue to assist the league as it pursues new ownership opportunities. We would like nothing more than to see professional lacrosse continue in Rochester. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you, our loyal fans, blah, 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 blah. We know how important this team is to the city and how passionate the fans are to support a box lacrosse, blah, blah, blah. We know the NLL will work tirelessly to pursue the best path forward for the franchise. For the record, I added in the blah, blah, blahs. All right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, all right.
There's a whole lot to come from this. I don't know if it's a cause for panic, but it is definitely cause for concern because this would be the second time in a decade that this team has left, if that is what is to happen.
Oh, they're on death row. I mean, let me state this clearly. If there was good news, they would be telling you about this. This is the final warning. Warning. Okay, you will not have a team unless a white knight comes in. And the NLL and Pete Gowelli, through his representative, said, hey, there are some things in the works. Okay. Then why haven't we heard about this? This team has been on, this is going back to hey, it's a slow-moving train. We've known about this for over a year. Tim Graham was the first to report from The Athletic that the Nighthawks were available for sale. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, well, the time has come, and obviously by them putting this out, Terry Pegula doesn't want to lose any more money, or he recognizes, hey, you know what, maybe Amherst attendance might actually go up just a smidge, and we can make more money when you're running the numbers like that, and we could reduce staff and everything else when it comes to this. Now, that's a little over my head, Tim, but I can tell you this, working in advertising sales where, the season doesn't start till December. Wrong. You have to get sponsorship opportunities out there right now. We are friends, okay, with the Ide family of dealerships, and we're friends with Three Heads Brewing. These are businesses, local businesses that do business with the Nighthawks, and no one is asking for them for a penny right now because there isn't an owner. So guess what happens to that budget? Poof. You have to be out there making the ask. And the thing that alarmed me, Tim, was this. I went to the last Nighthawks regular season game, and it was fun. They lost. We would have gotten into the postseason, but great crowd. It was like, I think, over 6,000. Not a single mention for season tickets for next year. You're a season ticket holder. You haven't been made that ask yet. It's almost like they knew this was the plan. And that would be a question I'd have for any of those players. How much did they know but weren't saying anything?
That's got to be putting a lot of people in a tough spot because if the writing's on the wall without the writing being there, and by that I mean if you're a season ticket holder, usually you're asked probably within the first month of the current season if you are planning to renew for the following season. And if that doesn't happen throughout the entire season, at what point as a fan are you wondering, like, what's going on here? And then this comes out and what'd they say, the 30th, a week? They have a week
that's it.
To own
so,
it.
like, you would have said, hey, positive news, stand by.
Right.
What they are saying here is we're going to walk away from this, number one. Or number two, look, if there's no local buyer and somebody wants to move this team to Kalamazoo or whatever city you like, we'll accept that offer. But we are walking away. We'll no longer operate the Rochester Nighthawks. Okay, that doesn't say much. It just kind of says, okay, things are kind of left up in the air. And you know who's like us as fans, but I feel bad for anybody whose income is tied directly to this. Because
that stinks.
Yeah, that's terrible. I think of like the staff. I think of the people who work in the arena. Not everybody's going to keep their job here.
And what Pegula did, to not to be fair, but just to add on, he kind of kept this around for 5 or 6 years longer than maybe people thought it would when they brought him back. And he owned 2 teams, and that's a rarity, possibly unprecedented.
That's totally fair.
But now that we're here in this spot again, it really stinks because the rug has been swept out from under us yet again, and we've got no future movement. There's no, like you brought up from the start, there's no good news in the chamber, or it would have been teased or mentioned, or, hey, we've got news and we're leaving, but hold on tight. We've got something in store coming up soon.
You would want that new owner needs to come in and just be a house of fire, and you got to start selling.
And if this just sat for a year,
it's been a slow death. I'm going to put this quiz to you, Tim. I'm going to give you some random National Lacrosse League cities, right?
Sure.
Okay. You have San Diego, Las Vegas, big markets out west. Ottawa, okay, capital of Canada. You have Albany, New York, which, all right, that's the other non-Buffalo upstate market, and Georgia, which I don't know where they're based, but they've been around for a while. And Rochester, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, let's throw in Toronto also.
It's about half the league then.
Okay, of those 7 markets I just mentioned, which one had the highest attendance per game last year? Let me give it to everybody again, all right? Ready? 7 markets: Rochester, Toronto, Vegas, San Diego, Ottawa, Georgia, Albany, New York.
I'm cheating a little bit because I know Vegas does not even have an arena half the size of what we have. So they're out. The rest of them are pretty big. I'm going to say either here or Toronto.
It's Rochester. So this isn't a Rochester problem. This is a league problem. Maybe the players are getting paid too much. Hey, you want to play in this league? We can't even support a market like Rochester. You're only going to go through so many of these markets. A relocation is only a quick fix, and then it's done. If you're going to walk away from 31 years, I'm sorry. And I wish the Pagulas would have been a little bit more transparent. They're welcome to call us here at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. But it's the Pagulas, and it's also this league I'm upset with. Because what the Pagulas are saying is like, hey, we are like right in the middle of the pack in terms of attendance, and we can't turn a profit. Or are they comparing it to, well, we're turning a profit in Rochester, but look what we're doing in Buffalo, right. Everybody. Oh,
cash cow.
Yeah, cash cow, 18 grand. Like it, I swear, like at some points, the Bandits are more popular than the Sabres out there.
It stinks that we're in this spot talking about this, mostly because the storied history that we've got 3 titles in a row 10 years ago. That was awesome. That was fun to be a part of. You've got the reigning MVP of the league on this roster. And currently, technically, unemployed all these guys? That's crazy.
And if you don't think they would fold a team.
Oh, they will.
They did it last year with Dallas. Now, Dallas was a little different because the arena, and from what I understand, and this is my buddy Chris Gordon explaining to me, like the Metroplex and how where lacrosse kids were playing, where they put the team wasn't exactly. Dallas is so huge there. So there was a reason why that it didn't work down there. But let's start here. Section 5 lacrosse is not just one of the hotbeds of the state. It's one of the best areas in the country. You have that local youth base. Like turning on the lights, you should be good for $5,000 a game. And if you brought in a new owner that this was their sole dedication and you're not spreading them between the Amerks and the Nighthawks and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, all the warning signs were there, Tim. And I hate being on the air and talking about, hey, we lost the Rhinos and we lost the Western New York Flash and add whatever else you like in. Heck, you could even say the Razor Sharks if that was your thing. But really, we're going to be down to the Amerks and Nighthawks and RIT hockey. Excuse me, the Amerks and Red Wings and RIT hockey.
Right. That appears to be the case, and that's, again, an unfortunate reality, especially because we've just done this not too long ago. This is the second iteration of the Rochester Nighthawks, and both were pretty successful. On the field, the other iteration won 3 consecutive championships just shy of just over a decade ago. Now this one, 2 or 3 straight playoff appearances, competitive, literally the league's best player on the team.
It's just push that stuff aside. It's a fun night out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason why this can't work in our town. But the idea that the National Lacrosse League and this is just my read on this. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. They don't have anything lined up. I'm sorry. Like somebody would be whispering in your ear, hey, this is just a matter of closing and dotting the I's. They're hoping a white knight comes through. And with the team in limbo, honestly, Tim, they don't have to make a decision until really the end of the summer on this. Like the clock is ticking here, like your Nighthawk doomsday clock.
If the means to an end is a dispersal draft, that could be done, put together, and accomplished all within the same week.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that from a league standpoint. You definitely don't want to do it from a Rochester lacrosse fan standpoint. The options are limited, and hopefully that white knight is knocking on the door in the next 7 days, so this can be a seamless transition and jump right back into the 25-26 league year with the Nighthawks still here in Rochester and the team still being supported by the fans that have supported it for as long as they have.
You can call us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you're just getting in the car. The Pagula ownership is walking away from the Nighthawks. I think that's how I would describe it. They're not saying they're for sale. They're not saying they're moving. They're just saying as of June 30th, they're no longer going to operate the team. So that begs the question, okay, the league is only going to do it so far. The league's not going to run the team for a year. Jeff writing in, my kid is going to be heartbroken. That was our one thing we always did together every year. Hopefully someone is willing to keep it here in the 585. Gosh, yeah, that's... Hey, kids, like, after all, this thing, it's a business. Let's talk about business. Nathan writing in, the NLL is to blame for this. That absolute clown show with the relocation expansion BS is what caused this. It was only a matter of time, unfortunately. I'm just saying that if you have a team that is midway in the pack, also, let's not discount, like, for a lot of these guys, okay, they're not based in Rochester, but it's just a short drive over the border. Like, you didn't have to house these guys.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily home for them, and it's not throughout the league, but you can get here pretty quickly, pretty easily, and pretty cheaply to come in and do your job. And then you go home. These guys have other jobs.
Yeah.
They come here on the weekend, they do their job, they go back, they do their other job, and it works. It's a feasible location for a professional sports team that isn't necessarily a huge profit hound.
If I have it wrong, if there's more to the story, my DMs are open. But the fact that nobody's correcting me on anything, I think the team is doomed. There's other things going on in sports. I was prepared all last night where, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch Game 7 here. And it was, But then I'm thinking, wow, this might be the all-time story in sports where Indiana was hanging in for a while. In fact, the Pacers had a halftime lead. And fun fact, the Bills also led at halftime in 2 of their 4 Super Bowls. And by the third quarter, all right, the McConnell kid. I say that. He was like, how many points did he have in a row? 14. But how many turnovers did he have too? Clearly, Oklahoma City, the better team. And that's a wrap here on the NBA season. When we talked to Ryan Hickey at the bottom of the hour, though, Tim, something's a little unsettling where it would be like you would have NFL free agency news on the morning of the Super Bowl. The NFL won't allow that because they want to focus on the teams and the game itself. This is the one league that welcomes, hey, we're already on to the next thing. Like, and Kevin Durant is the king of the next thing.
Right, and they even prefaced it with, like, this trade is announced. It can't be official until July 6th. Like, then just wait.
Then wait.
Like, even waiting 24 hours. Like, let the marquee game of the season take that stage, not you sitting on a stage in Fanatics Fan Fest learning, in quotes, because I'm sure he knew, learning that he was traded by the fans. Insane.
It shocks me that other teams aren't ripping off the idea from the NFL, because if you think for a second like deals in the NFL get done on that magical legal tampering window in March, you're kidding yourself. They're done weeks, maybe months in advance. what the NFL mandates and all the owners agreed to is we are zipping our lips on this. And because if you're an agent, you want to continue your business. That's why there's very few leaks. And then when that day comes, it's, whoa, look out. How great would that be if we got to a July 6th date, Tim, and then all of a sudden, whew,
Right, a whole
Yeah.
news day dedicated to all the deals that happened in the 25 days that you weren't allowed to talk about it in the NBA. Like, drop all that between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and have yourself an NBA day on new league year day, just like the NFL does.
Now, I could hear the counter argument, but Gene, that's just not possible because the players drive this league and the players want it. I'll listen to that. Unlike the NFL,
Yeah,
it's
the personalities kind of take precedence in the NBA.
Yeah, like Kevin Durant, he's going to keep it quiet. Like you have to get superstars have to sign off on trades in the NBA. That's the difference, I guess, and that's why we have the system that, quite honestly, I think it kind of sucks. Ryan Hickey, affectionately known as Hot Take Hickey, that's Zach Gelb who came up with that, by the way. He got engaged on Saturday, which I had to go through my timeline. I'm like, wait a second, when did I come invite him on the show? Did I invite him Saturday morning? I didn't text him while he was like on bent knee or something like that. We'll ask Ryan if I interrupted his proposal there. We got time for your calls. We'll need, the reaction will kind of filter into regarding the Nighthawks, as this is not a story we wanted to start out with today. Danger's out this week. He is Tim Schneider. I'm Gene Battaglia. This is the Fan Rochester.
update.
A statement for the Rochester Nighthawks today. The Pagula ownership is walking away from the team as of June 30th. The National Lacrosse League says they are committed to finding a new owner, committed to keeping the team here in Rochester. Meanwhile, the Amerks reaching a 5-year lease agreement deal with a new arena operator. Tyrese Halliburton has a torn Achilles. The Indiana star will miss next season. We'll get the thoughts of Ryan Hickey from the Infinity Sports Network. He joins us next here in the Sports Bar. Hockey trade today. Anaheim trading Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia. Zegras, the former number 9 overall pick. Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. Syracuse coming to town tomorrow. Syracuse's parent team, the Mets, opening a series against the Braves tonight. The Yankees open a series out in Cincinnati. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Pretty big weekend for our next guest joining us. You hear him as part of the show now, Writer Than You. Also, you hear him on weekends as well here on the Infinity Sports Network. And he has one of the worst takes of all time, trading Josh Allen for Caleb Williams. Always have to remind him of that. Ryan Hickey joins us. Brian, before we talk sports, big weekend for you. Congratulations, and I sincerely mean that because that's one of the best things, happiest things you could ever do. Before you pop the question, I'm just concerned that the timing of my text, like when I invited you to come on the show there, it wasn't anywhere around the big event, was it?
No, Gene, of course you would come first. Anyway, if you did text me, let's say even in the middle of me on a knee, it's, hold on, I got a text. It's from Gene. Let me answer back really fast before I ask you this big question. But no, it was a perfect lead up to what was a great weekend.
Would you do it in the city there, or was it you got to give some more detail there, Ron?
Sure, yes. We did it in Central Park in New York City, but kind of like a little conservatory garden area. So it's kind of up more north, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so away from a lot of people, which is nice because my girlfriend, while living in New York City, did not want a lot of people around when she was getting proposed to, so that made it interesting. Not many places that are pretty barren, so kind of was scouting around and said, okay, she's been here before. She likes flowers. It's very naturey, very nice. Just got to pray that on Saturday, the first nice Saturday here in New York City, basically all summer, that no one's out and about. Got very lucky. No one was there for the most part. So it worked out to perfection. But yeah, I did it in Central Park by a nice little fountain. Had her family and my family kind of hidden in this little perch up top, kind of looking down from like a sky view angle, so she couldn't see them. So she was very surprised. So it went as well as it could have went, Gene.
You know, when we first started out in this business, Ryan, I don't know about you, but I always was like getting nervous, but then you get over it after a while. What were the nerves like for you that morning, buddy?
It was so weird because I am a nervous person. Like, even before every show, even before this hit, I still get nervous. I get butterflies. Like, oh, man, hope you don't screw this up. Hopefully it goes well. And it was the weirdest thing because I did not feel nervous at all. Maybe it's just because, like, I was planning this entire thing for the last, 2 months and really had to keep it a secret. And the whole thing was, okay, like, I just got to act as normal as I can because if not, she's going to know something's up. So, like, really we Ubered up there. And so from the Uber, like, where the gates were to, like, where I ended up asking the question around a fountain, so it was called, like, a 2-minute walk. Those 2 minutes, I was very nervous because I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I know what you're going to say. Just don't trip, basically. Like, I see the finish line, just finish strong. But outside of that, even leading up to it, there's not a lot of nerves just because, like, if I'm nervous, she's going to feel it. Then she's going to know something's up. Then the whole surprise and all this week's lead up to this, surprise engagement, then we had a surprise party afterwards for that she was not, aware of. It all would have been out the window. So not a lot of nerves really outside of like the 90 seconds or so before the big question was asked.
Well, the last question I got for you on this is, all right, you have to plan a date, but really you're not in control of this, Ryan. Are you going to be able to avoid Penn State football or the NFL season when it comes to the big day?
Gene, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can only at this point pray. Lauren really wants a September wedding.
Oh.
Really wants one. And I got to tell this because I really haven't, but my big thing, I don't mind the actual, 1 weekend I can live with that. Okay, fine. I mean, as long as it's not like, a Penn State Oregon weekend where it's a big game. Okay, I could probably live without, seeing Penn State Villanova on like an early, September Saturday. But the thing that I'm nervous about is Now, if you get married in September, the anniversary is every year. So now it's like every year, sure, it's maybe on like a Tuesday, but you want to celebrate the weekend before, the weekend after. So like every year now, it's like the song and dance of, well, which weekend could work? What could we do? What games are on? What are we watching? And then, so it's like, I feel like it's like going to be stressful just to figure out, well, how the hell do you celebrate the anniversary every single year? When, if it's like in June or August or July, hey, it's summertime. You know, outside of Mets baseball, and I can miss a Mets game or two. There's nothing else on the calendar that I have to worry about that is going to, you know, divert my attention away from you. Maybe, you know what? Maybe if I phrase it that way, maybe I can get what I want, Gene. We'll see.
Yeah, here would be my suggestion. Have Ryder be the bad guy. In other words, you could say, listen, he will only allow me a few days off in September, but if we do that at a different time in a slower period, say June or July, I can get more time off on. We can go on our honeymoon or whatever it is. So I would I would ask Bill if he'd be willing to play that role as the bad guy to help you get off the September wedding.
That's smart. Yeah, I do need a fall guy.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Right.
Yeah.
I can't be the bad guy, but it's not my fault. Well, it's not me. I would love to accommodate your wishes because it's your day. But sorry, can't. I like that. You know what, Gene? Noted. Noted.
Yeah.
You may save me here, going for like decades in the future here, that I may have a turtle debt to.
No, you just got to get Ryder on board, but I'm sure he would be. He'd be on board with that to help you out. We invited Ryan on not to talk wedding stuff, but we're certainly happy with him. But Ryan. Going into the NBA Finals, and we talked to Bill going in, and it's not the matchup most of America would want, but if you're a basketball fan, this should be great basketball. And I just feel so empty from watching. It was a 7-game series, but to me, these games kind of got away. The Halliburton ending, the series itself being upstaged by Kevin Durant and an Orlando trade and other things going on. To me, it just I wanted more out of these last 2 weeks from the NBA.
It's funny, I thought the finals for the most part, the actual just basketball on the court, I thought it was great, honestly. There was, 2 out of the 5 games for them, or 2 out of the 7 games, were for the most part blowouts. But even last night, Indiana has a halftime lead. At one point they're cutting it down. They're making a little bit of a run. And I think in part 2, at least for me, what got me still, glued, even though there's no Halliburton, is we've seen this team come back from so many improbable deficits before where it's like, who am I to say they can't come back? No Halliburton, no problem. So it's I know, again, OKC got by 20, and you feel like they're running away. Even when they cut it down to 12, okay, they still probably got it. But at least for, I would say, 3/4 of last night, even without Halliburton and that gut punch happening so early in the game, I was still very enthralled and intrigued. And I thought Game 1 kind of set it up where you think the Thunder, or they were in control for 95% of the game. All of a sudden, here come the Pacers, another incredible comeback. They win the game. So even though there was a few blowouts, it's who am I to kind of turn it off? Even with Game 6, with Indiana having everything go right, it's OKC's still the best team in the league. Is it crazy to say they can't come back from 20? I thought, for the most part, in terms of just intrigue and interest, I thought the finals, I'll say, if you want to put a grade on it, a A-. I liked it. I thought it was enjoyable. But to your, I would agree with your point. It's just so bizarre that you had 3 huge pieces of news in the NBA happen during the finals, not even leading up to it, just during the actual finals, that takes away and I think, in a way, undercuts what's something that I thought Adam Silver was trying to help, which is, make these markets more prolific and more common in house. It's like the Warriors a decade ago. No one really knew or cared much about Steph and Clay, but they kept winning, so they forced you to care about them. Now, all of a sudden, Golden State's this marquee television every single week you're watching them. I thought Adam Silver was trying to basically build Golden State 2.0 in OKC and Indiana. And then you let, the Desmond Bain trade, I get it. Is it the biggest news in the world? No. It's still very interesting with John Morant tied to it. The Lakers sale and now Kevin Durant trade. It's just crazy how you can allow 2 huge pieces of news, but 3 overall, leak out during a finals in which you're trying to build up smaller markets to have them be must-watch TV.
Ryan Hickey, Infinity Sports Network, our guest here. And then coming out of this, could have gone any worse there for Indiana, where, all right, they're not going back next year unless they do something big with Halliburton. For folks who haven't heard, it is a torn Achilles, so you figure we're not going to see him next year. Who's representing in the East next year, Ryan?
Right now, Gene, not to be like a homer, I would say it's the Knicks. And it's honestly, it's just a process of elimination in the sense of, like, you look at the Celtics, they have no Jason Tatum, but it's going to go beyond that because they've already talked about shedding salary to get under their historic luxury tax bill. So you think Kristaps Porzingis probably going to be on his way out. Drew Holiday probably going to be on his way out. Maybe another role player or two. Sam Hauser gone. So now you're undercutting some key role players and depth pieces from a very talented team now that's going to also be without their best player for all of next year. I would probably say now this Halliburton injury helps maybe the Bucks keep Giannis in Milwaukee, but still that team is a long ways away with no Dame next year of filling pieces around Giannis to be a legitimate title contender. Pacers, I think, are a legitimately good team. I feel like I've disrespected for a large part of this year. They're legitimately good, but now no Halliburton. I think that drastically, again, changes their ability to compete. And so you look around and it's, okay, well, three of the best teams in the conference now are without their best player. I don't trust the Sixers. The Cavaliers have a lot of talent, but it also feels like there's some sort of mental block with them, with Donovan Mitchell being your best player in the playoffs, where we saw them play great in the regular season and all of a sudden just combust. I know they were a little bit hurt against the Pacers, but still, I think, favor the grittiness and the toughness of the Knicks right now, even though they don't have a head coach, and we'll see how that, search turns out. I would say right now they, to me, feel like the favorites going into next year.
Yeah, like the coach thing is also part of it. And when that happened, Danger and I are like, okay, this looks controversial. Obviously, they have a plan here. Ryan, what is the plan? What is the plan? Hopefully that Dallas says yes at some point. Like, legitimately, like, walk us through what happened with the Knicks and Tibbs and the parting, because if you want to make the move, that's fine, but you can't be doing the whole process of the interviews and everything else. This is a team that you can't have some rookie coach come in and cut his teeth. You need somebody who's ready to take this team to a championship now.
You're right. I will say, Jared Greenberg pointed this out. I think when he was actually on with Bill a few days ago, and I think he's 100% right. And what he basically said was what the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau did, or signaled, at least first and foremost, was that they didn't believe he could win a title, which I agree with that assertion, by the way. I think Tom Thibodeau – this is not going to – me very upset with people in Rochester and Buffalo. I think, to me, Tom Thibodeau is the NBA version
– oh, no. Go ahead.
Of Sean McDermott. A very good coach who they both took over organizations that were in disarray, that could not, identify their elbow from the you-know-what, and made them prolific, perennial playoff contenders every single year. They brought stability. They elevated the franchise to being one of the best in their respective conferences. Do I think Tibbs could get the Knicks over the top to win a championship? I do not. I think there are some things with his coaching. I think his rigidness. I think his just overall view of the game is a little bit outdated to the point of getting over the hump and winning a title. I think for Sean McDermott, I would agree. I think some of his coaching styles still skew towards a little bit more conservative than aggressive. I think he's a very good coach, but I think in order to truly win a championship, I think you need someone else to kind of get you over that final hump and break through. And I will give the Knicks credit in the sense of they identified, okay, Tibbs is not our guy. I think it's easy to just say, well, we made the playoffs every year. Now we're relevant. Like, we should just keep him until we could guarantee have someone else. They said, no, we're trying to win a title. We don't think this guy could do it. We got to move on from him. And I do, like, at least right now, I know it's been ugly and sloppy. But I guess I will say is, number one, you don't know, who's interested till you ask. So I don't hate the fact that they've gone to a lot of the best head coaches in the league and said, hey, would you be interested? Now, obviously, the answer has been no by every single team. But at least I like the idea of what they're going after. We'll see if they end up with Taylor Jenkins or Michael Malone, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good, but it's interesting.
Can we take a detour here? Because I feel like half our audience is saying, yeah, Ryan's got a point about McDermott. And whenever there's a tough loss, he's always the guy that gets blamed. You know the way that works. This is going to be year number 9 for Sean McDermott. Without, to this point, having even reached the Super Bowl, having even reached a championship game. Like, we're going into like Marvin Lewis type of territory here of like, how long can a guy stay with one franchise where you're always very good, but you can't get over the top? What is kind of like the national view on Buffalo and McDermott, right? Because my view is that it's kind of like the Andy Reid mold. Like if the Bills let him go, I can see him going somewhere else and winning. You're learning from this experience and winning right away, Ryan.
And that's, I think, what makes it so tough, because it's not like he's not a bad coach. He's a very good coach. Again, like they're winning 11, 12, 13 games. He's taken this franchise and it truly helped build them up. He's built a culture to where Josh Allen came in super raw and developed in front of our eyes at a rate faster than honestly I thought he even would in basically from year 3 going, or, in 3 years going from this raw product to now, a guy who's in the MVP conversation every single year. He deserves a lot of credit for that. But I like the Andy Reid comp because you go back to Philly, right? He was a really good coach. He made it to 4 straight NFC title games, finally broke through, but lost the Super Bowl. Like, I think that Andy Reid comp is very fair because, yeah, if you fire Sean McDermott, let's just say tomorrow, there'll be probably 10 teams lined up to hire him as their head coach. But with that said, if we're talking about a Bills opening, like when Andy Reid took over the Chiefs, right, the Chiefs were that's not a job that everyone's climbing for. This would be one of the most highly sought after and coveted head coaching jobs that I can remember opening up in a long time. Because you never really see, for the most part, Hall of Fame trajectory quarterbacks like Josh Allen have a head coach opening. I think you look at, I think that's why in part I think that the Bills, they make this move, it would be shocking, and there would be a lot of people saying, what are you doing? Sean McDermott's a very good coach. Give him some more time. Enough knocks at the door, you're eventually going to break through. I think you can upgrade in part because there's going to be so many coaches, employed and unemployed, that are just going to be doing whatever it takes to be able to coach Josh Allen.
Yeah, we're talking to Ryan Hickey, Infinity Sports Network. You hear him as part of Rider Than You, weekdays 10 to noon here on the Fan Rochester. One more question on the NBA, and I think it's the obligatory Kevin Durant question where it didn't work in Oklahoma City. Let's point that out the first go-round. Okay, do you give him any credit for Golden State? I do not. They won without him. Didn't work in Brooklyn. Didn't work in Phoenix. Can this actually work in Houston, Ryan?
Work meaning like win a title?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I like Kevin Durant, Gene. The biggest thing for him, like I think he is super talented, right? It's not even a debate or an argument. His biggest downfall is just not a leader. And I think now, like in the NBA, it's not your star can't just be a guy who shows up to the gym and gives you 25 on a given night, no matter what. They have to be the voice of the team. They have to be the guy that's, even if not a vocal leader, because I don't think Steph Curry, for example, is like a vocal leader giving a rah-rah speech at halftime. But like everyone knows, okay, this is Steph's team. He speaks for us. When he speaks, we listen. He commands respect. I just don't think Kevin Durant commands respect in the same way that a lot of those superstars or alpha males do for these title contending teams. And so like he's more of a guy that is passive aggressive. He's someone that if he sees a problem is not going to address it, which just allows it, to continue to happen and get worse and create cracks. And instead of confronting it, he just tries to, have the coach fired or have this player shipped out and do it behind the scenes. He's a super talented player, and I think he does mean well. But the issue is just for him, he's not a vocal, get in your face, like, get on my back, we're doing this together, this is how we win a title. And going to Houston with all that inexperience, all those players that are super young, that don't know any better. Ime Udoka's a great coach, but still, I think it starts with the players first in a player-driven league. He's just not the leader that Houston needs him to be to truly, in this, realistically, what we're talking, a 2-year runway, right? He's 37 years old. Probably next year and the year after that, he could truly say are the 2 best shots for the Rockets to win a title. I just don't think he's a good enough leader to get this young, inexperienced team without a true leader to where they need to go, which is beating OKC and winning the finals.
Yeah, it's just so much talent out west, and then maybe the Knicks get through in the East here. Ryan, want to just hit you up on one baseball question, and I think it's the best rivalry in baseball, but is it the best rivalry in sports today, Dodgers and Padres?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm just trying to think right now, true bad blood rivals in sports. Hockey, you could probably get that with a few local rivalries because that's, still one of the most physical sports here. Football is, I would say so. Because it's not just like 2 competitive teams, like the Chiefs and the Bills. Great rivalry.
But there's no, hate, though. Like I'm talking, like, there's actual, I want to punch this guy in the, it's rare. We saw it with, the Four Nations tournament, and that put hockey, on the map. But what happened late last week with the Dodgers and Padres, Ryan, it's just, okay, anytime these two teams play, to me, that's appointment television.
Yeah, because there's no respect. A lot of these great rivalries between great teams, there's a mutual respect of, hey, you're good, I'm good, let's just battle out on the field. They throw it out the window. It's like brothers fighting. Where, hey, there's hair pulling, there's, shots below the belt. Like, we don't care. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll play dirty. You go low, we'll go lower. Like, you don't see too many teams' rivalries with, like, legitimate pettiness and hatred. And I also, too, I mean, I know I get it's dangerous, but I think in a way that makes you, I think it's why we're talking about it right now, and I think why I would agree with what you said, but it's the best rivalry in sports, is that stars are not off limits.
Yeah.
Tatis is getting hit. Otani, like, they're in the mix as well. It's not just, okay, like, we'll hit the backup shortstop or the 9-hitter and we'll, come out of the dugout, pretend to be mad. It's like, no, we're going to go. You want to go? We're going to go. There, boom, there's Otani. There's Tatis. Like, they don't hold anything back. They go after the biggest names. It's for baseball, too, right, one of the biggest issues is just nationally, there's not a lot of appointment TV. That is one where Dodgers, Padres are playing, doesn't matter what time, where it is. That nationally must watch.
How is it going with Ryder here in this new slot you've been in here for a little bit there, Ryan?
It's been a lot of fun, Gene. The new hours are great. I've never been more excited to wake up at 6 a.m. on a daily basis than I have been right now. It's been a lot of fun working with Bill. Obviously, his NBA knowledge is amazing. So being able to, work with him as the conference finals and the finals arrive here and kind of going through that has been a blast. Now getting ready for football. So it's I guess, almost 2 months. Feels like I just started yesterday with how fast it's gone, but it's been so much fun so far.
Yeah, well, you know what? Then you can throw me under the bus then by suggesting to Ryder that he's the bad guy in the September wedding. Get it off that. Let's make Ryder the fall guy on this.
I still can't believe you're trying to get me fired.
Why
For
would
the Josh Allen sake. Jeez, I thought we were friends, and all of a sudden, hey, Bill, look, come on. Here's what your producer said 2 years ago.
That was pretty funny. He swore he never heard that.
Yeah, because we talked about it a lot the next day, and he was still, I think, as shocked almost 24 hours later
you know how upset
as he was in the moment.
People here got really, really mad at you,
Oh.
Ryan. Like, is that
You
the
should
one
see
time
my mentions.
Yeah, is that the one time where you're like, whoa, okay, I need to put the phone down, people. It's just sports here. Relax.
Yeah, that is one where I was like, holy cow, like people and it wasn't even saying it. I guess the funniest part looking back at it is like, I'm not sitting here saying the Bills suck or Josh Allen sucks. Like, it was just more a trade where like that trade in my mind to me helped both teams. It wasn't like bashing the Bills, but it was like the hate that I got. You would think again, like I said Josh Allen sucked and that he's a bust or whatever. With the way there was so much anger towards a take that again was genuinely meant to help out the team you are rooting for. That was the funniest part.
That's why you're hot take Hickey, as Gelb once coined you.
Yeah, don't try to take credit for that.
Ryan, we'll listen tomorrow.
Very territorial these days on nicknames. Sheesh.
That's it. Yeah, Gelb doing. Yeah, very protective. That's his. Don't want to infringe on that. Ryan, appreciate you, buddy. Congratulations once again, bud.
Gene, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, man. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan. Brian Hickey, Infinity Sports Network, joining us here in the sports bar. Where he was a little more positive about the 7-game series. I
didn't dislike it. I think I lean more towards his approach to it than yours, but just the way that it was dealt with by the league is what got me.
Yeah, and it's good to point out too. Like, hey, the Lakers story also dropped. There's no reason you couldn't put a pin on that.
Right. I mean that should have been like this morning or right now.
Yeah.
Get that out there and then slowly burn these other stories that you've got with the draft movement and the trades and all that.
Yeah, that's that was a good point to bring up. Ryan Hickey, you here every day, 10 to noon. We'll take more of your calls here, and and your comments too. They keep coming in. The Nighthawks, the Pagulas, are walking away from running them. So there's, can we say how? Like I'm got to be conscientious because of how we're framing this. The Nighthawks are in serious jeopardy. Is that overstating it, or is that accurate, Tim?
I think that it is closer to accurate than I'm willing to admit. So,
all right, maybe serious, but they're in jeopardy.
Yes, let's
That's
go
a
with
fact.
that.
Yeah, the Nighthawks are in jeopardy, folks. We'll break that down. We've got time for your calls. We'll also talk to Brayton Wilson as, we have this NHL drafting and things that are happening. Other teams are making trades. Zegras, he might be available. Oh, great. He goes to Philadelphia talking to Dan DeLore. He's like, watch Philadelphia makes the postseason. Like, oh, yeah, fantastic.
It is interesting seeing these guys go on the block for an hour and then they actually get traded. Meanwhile, we're still talking about J.J. Peterka, and it's damn near July 4th. So go Buffalo.
Yay, Sabres. 866-4FAN. It's a sports bar here on the Fan Rochester.
KMOC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
The future of the Rochester Nighthawks is in jeopardy. A statement from the team today. The Pagula ownership is walking away as of June 30th. The National Lacrosse League claims they are committed to finding a new owner that's committed to keeping the team in Rochester. Tyrese Halliburton has a torn Achilles. That is official. He'll miss next season. Rick Carlisle on his Stars postseason.
He authored one of the great individual playoff runs in the history of the NBA with dramatic play after dramatic play. It was just something that no one's ever seen, and did it as one of 17.
Anaheim traded Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia. The Rochester Red Wings off tonight. Syracuse coming to town tomorrow. Mets host the Braves. The Yankees open a series in Cincinnati. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
A dream realized. The storybook season is complete. The final chapter reads the Oklahoma City Thunder are the 2025 NBA champions.
Gilgeous-Alexander, he is the first player in 25 years to be Finals MVP, regular season MVP, and the scoring champ.
Halliburton falls down, turns it over, and Halliburton is face down in the Indiana offensive end.
Kevin Durant has been traded to the Houston Rockets.
Mike Danger.
But I'm not going to let a spider take me out, I guess is what I'm saying.
Gene Battaglia.
And if somebody says credit card roulette, I respectfully decline.
The Ducks complete this trade, Zegras to Philadelphia.
Jets owner Woody Johnson is paying $254 million for a 43% stake in English soccer club Crystal Palace.
LSU defeats Coastal Carolina 5-3 to win the College World Series.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Thanks for making us part of your day. Rochester's only local sports talk show, the Sports Bar here on The Fan, Rochester, where, hey, if one of our local teams is about to go poof, we're a little concerned about that. The statement for the Nighthawks, we'll talk about that here. Your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-432-6. Tim, I did get a little time to watch a little baseball on Saturday. Well, let me stop there. Before, it wasn't actually baseball. Baseball is a little different. So the NFL has their, thing, the product that everybody loves, the red zone. And some people swear by the red zone. Like, once you watch that, I won't sit down and watch a 3-hour game because the red zone gives me everything that I want for my fantasy, everything in real time. The red zone is such a good product. Well, you could say the NFL is such a good product. It's nearly impossible to, copy that in other leagues because you just don't know when that big moment is going to come. It can't work for any other sport. Would you agree on that or disagree that hard to replicate for the NBA, NHL, or Major League Baseball, kind of a red zone sort of thing?
Hard to replicate, sure, but I know what you're talking about, and I agree with you, so I will let you take the wheel on it.
So what Major League Baseball has done is like, okay, we can't do that, but if you're not familiar, what they've done is they call it the big inning, MLB big inning, and what it is now most of us, I think over, like, if you're fortunate enough, you've treated yourself to the nice monitor, right? What they do with the monitor, since, we're in this day and age, or you're not watching like a little tube TV, they split it into 4 windows. So you're watching 4 games at once. And if one game goes to commercial break, we're going to filter another. It only works if you've got a full slate of action. And it also only works, too, and they're only going to do it if there's not another window, let's say here. Like, they won't do it on a Friday night because they want you to watch the Apple game, for instance. So MLB, big inning. Okay, Saturday afternoon, there really isn't anything else going on. I'm done with yard work. I'm going to sit down and treat myself to a little bit of MLB big inning. You would think, though, you're able to follow 4, even for a sport like baseball, 4 games around at once. It can be kind of difficult. And let me explain, because there are a lot of things going on Saturday. You had Clark Schmidt of the Yankees going for a no-hitter, took that into the 8th inning. You had you had other games, like you had the Cubs and Mariners, which ended up being a really fun series because the wind was blowing out. You had the Jays playing. You also had, an NL Central matchup, two teams I don't think are going to the postseason, but still, it was the Cardinals and Reds. And if you're a fantasy player like myself, all of a sudden I just noticed on one of the windows, well, that looks unusual. Like you see the trainers out at shortstop talking to Ellie De La Cruz. Like, wait a second. How did he get hurt if he's out on the field? And as I'm watching this, because they don't have the audio up, they can only put the audio up on one thing.
Right.
And then they have, and forgive me, because I don't know who the host was, but the host then all of a sudden kind of jumps in. He's like, we have a developing situation in St. Louis where one of the bright young stars of the game, Ellie De La Cruz, is being tended to. Wow, well, like, okay, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's Saturday afternoon in St. Louis where it was hot here. Imagine what it was in St. Louis. They told you later on the broadcast, 107, the heat index. So 107, and then all of a sudden there's not a cloud in the sky in St. Louis, and out comes two members of the ground crew, one guy with a shovel and the other guy with Diamond Dry. Oh, that's what happened. They're not showing a replay of that because no one wants to see that. And like the host, well, if we get any, and as the guy's coming out with the shovel, if we get any information on Ellie De La Cruz, we'll pass that along. We will keep you abreast of the situation. Like, dude, he yacked on the field, okay? I think we can all kind of conclude there. Reason I'm telling this story, Tim, if Ellie De La Cruz, one of the best young players in baseball, can get sick on a day like today, you can get sick too.
Yes,
so
you can.
Stay hydrated, folks.
His name's Matt Yeloff, by the way. He's the host of Big Inning. They do a really good job with it. It's not the same as Red Zone for obvious reasons, but they do a good job of it because there's always something happening in baseball. You just have to figure out which one you care about most. Like if you've got two all-stars batting at the same time, you've got to pick your shot.
Yeah.
So you just show both, and then once they make contact, they'll kind of pivot to it real quick. And if it's a home run or a great defensive play,
or they'll just like all of a sudden the audio will switch in the middle of it, like you hear this cheering, like whatever, and then
like you're watching one game, but you're hearing something else. And they do it's not the same quality, but they do a good job. I enjoy it. It's fun if you've got no ties to one certain game, or you want to watch your fantasy team play rather than your favorite team. If you don't even have a favorite team, just watch whatever baseball decides you should be watching. It's fun.
If I have the story wrong, someone please correct me, but what I'm able to kind of piece together here is that the Nighthawks were on the market for well over a year. The Nighthawks were telling you indirectly, the fan, by not asking you for ticket deposits for the upcoming season. There's nothing on their website right now. That was like, okay, that was a little alarming. Maybe it was just an oversight. No, that was it. You can't collect money and then have to give it back here. The story today, the statement put out that, okay, there's literally 1 week left here of the Pagulas, and then they are literally walking away. They're either going to sell the team, relocate the team, or perhaps just fold the team. Everything is on the table here when it comes to the Rochester Nighthawks. And the fact that they're not telling you what is coming up next, if you're feeling nervous and jerky, I am too.
At this point, it's not even like, come the next 7 days, like right now the Pagulas it's been for sale. It's been for sale for over a year.
Right.
On the 30th, they are now in control by the league. And then from there, the league decides, let's find a new owner. Let's find a new owner who wants to move it. Or let's just contract dispersal draft and put the reigning MVP in another franchise.
That is mind-blowing. And if you're thinking relocation is the key, they folded a team last year, the team in Dallas, the Metroplex, where, all right, I would think maybe to run a team down there, the cost would be a little higher. Reason being, where your players here, the majority of them live in Ontario, Canada, and they just cross the border for the Nighthawks or the Bandits for that matter, or even for the Albany Firewolves. No, there's just not a lot of guys in this league that actually make their year-round home in Dallas. So the commitment, to get guys on there. But I always thought the model here worked where we've talked to a lot of these players. They're financial players. The one guy, he's a firefighter. I mean, like literally, this is what makes this league attractive. Guys who love this sport, who are making good money, but not enough to sustain this. This is like what they're doing on the weekends, and they're going to try to, make the most of it. I think that if we lost the Nighthawks, that would be a serious blow for our town. What I want to know is who's willing to step up. And the thing is, Tim, you got to understand, and I don't want to point at any one particular ownership group or individual, but a lot of people get into sports because they've had success in other areas in business, whether that's real estate or being a lawyer, whatever it is. Congratulations, you are wealthy, you've made money, but you're going to lose money on this outfit without a national TV contract and the ESPN Plus. That's not it. That's nothing more than just a few pennies as compared to other major sports. That, yes, if there's somebody that's willing to do this for our town, absolutely. Save the Nighthawks, and you will be forever loved. If you're doing it and you get a year in, oh my gosh, we lost X number of dollars. How could that happen? You have to know going in that you're not going to make money on this.
Right. There might be a chance for profit. I don't think anybody would do it knowing you're going to be just hemorrhaging money. But if you're expecting a massive margin on your return, lacrosse is not the answer. That said, lacrosse is really important to this region, to this city.
Yeah.
It is a pipeline, a national pipeline. If you look at the Division I rosters and the male and female lacrosse programs, and then those that go on to play both in the league that the Nighthawks are in, the NLL, in the outdoor league, the PLL, there are tons of local products currently active in these leagues. There's a pipeline here. Part of it is because of the success that the Nighthawks have had.
Yeah, I mean, and part of it, too, is let's not kid ourselves. It's the arena experience, which I'll give the Pagulas credit. Like, when they took over the arena, that drastically improved between the lighting and actually getting a new floor for the Nighthawks and the concessions. Now we should invite in the new, whatever this Venue Works is.
Venue Works, yeah.
Yeah, Venue Works. Like, what is their plan? What is that experience going to be like? What concessions are we going to have? What other things will you bring to this town? And maybe, I don't know, like, can Venue Works bring in an Arena League team? Or that's not the right thing. Like, is there another sport that we're missing out on that we could kind of dive into? I'd rather keep the Nighthawks rather than choose, door B and, invite in another minor league franchise, whatever that may be.
There's got to be some semblance of a plan that they've got, because they rattled off both announcements pretty much simultaneously today. The Amherst are sticking around on a 5-year agreement as the primary tenant of the Venue Works operation, and at almost the same exact time, the Pagula entity, I believe, posted their release that they were getting rid of the Nighthawks as far as that goes. Like, the Nighthawks could possibly be staying here, but they will not be.
The fact that we
owned
don't
by
have,
Pagulas.
like, you wouldn't roll it out this way if there was something in the works.
Right.
It would have just been standby. And I go back to, I went to the last regular season game. Nobody's asking me at all. There was not a single ask. Hey, pay up for next year. That's commonplace. And if you don't believe me, and shame on me, I haven't been to a Red Wing game yet, but I'm sure they're asking you for, the better example is when you get to August. Hey, become a season ticket holder next year. Like, yeah, they give you incentives to do that. The fact it wasn't even an ask, like, oh, are they pulling up stakes here?
They've got stickers and things on the seats that let you know that it's available for the rest of this season and for
for the Amherst, right? They like
the Red Wings do that too.
Yep.
But with the Nighthawks,
they didn't do it. The other thing too is, like, and this is your corporate sponsorship, and I'm mentioning just these two because they're good friends with our station, Three Heads Brewing. It's still on the shelves. Like, if I'm Three Heads, I'm like, okay, are we making the Nighthawk Hazy IPA anymore? What are we doing with that? It's still on the shelves, by the way, Tim. Well, Three Heads wasn't doing that without the ask. Nobody's asking three heads for the rights to that anymore. The Ide family of dealerships, okay, good friends of our company, and they're one of the title sponsors for the Nighthawks. Is anybody, like, all that money will just evaporate for whoever's going to come in. You want to give the new owner, if there is one, like a running start, a chance to kind of succeed. You can't, okay, you know what, it's October, here you go. You can't sell sponsorships, or it's very difficult within 6 weeks. It's a continuous year-long thing.
Right. If you're starting behind the 8 ball on something that has been publicly available for over a year, you either simply aren't interested, or the profits or whatnot just don't pick you up enough to make you pick up the phone and make that transaction. I wish that it was different, and it would be awesome if somebody is able to, in the next week, to make this go off without a hitch. Like, if they're done the 30th and somebody's ready to take it over the 1st, that's awesome. It just doesn't seem like that's the feasible reality at this point, with the announcement coming the way that it did today, with it being aligned with another announcement saying that the Amerks are going to be around for 5 more years.
Yeah.
At minimum. The Amerks are never going to go anywhere.
No, the Amerks are just fine, as long as the Sabres are down the road. That marriage will still continue to be 5-year agreement. That was also part of it was the official announcement. That's what they want us to talk about here today, Tim. Like, hey, we're staying. Okay, that's great and all, but tell me about this other team that we just don't want them to kind of fade out without having that conversation. And just judging by the reaction here on social media, a lot of people, and I'm pointing this out too, and maybe it's not a Nighthawk thing, maybe it's a league thing. When the Nighthawks can outdraw Albany, okay, and they should, okay, Albany is a much smaller market. Georgia, okay, not a lacrosse market, but there's money and there's transplants down there. But now we get into areas of, okay, Ottawa. Okay,
Ottawa's a lacrosse haven, just like here.
San Diego and Vegas, not areas for lacrosse, but holy cow, when you talk about big markets, emerging markets, yeah. Would it surprise anyone if I told you the Nighthawks outdrew the Toronto Rock? And I would say, what the heck happened to the Toronto Rock? I mean, maybe just people are sowing the leaves up there. The point is, this league is doing an Essie job. I would swear I can't on this. That's the solution. If you are outdrawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 markets, you outdrew. All of them, with the exception of Albany, are bigger than you.
Right.
Okay, I don't think all the tickets were free in Rochester. Okay, let's just put it that way. Then what's wrong with this league? Something seriously is wrong with this league. And you could say, well, it's a small – that's not even relevant, Tim. It's a gate league. There's no TV contract. Stop with that.
They have their thing with ESPN Plus that brings more eyes to it, but the money, that's not where their money is. Their money is the people going to the arena, and if we're getting almost 6,000 people there every weekend or every home game, that should be a viable enough reach to keep the team around. Hopefully that is maintained, and there's still something to talk about come October when their season begins.
Dave wrote to me, is this just a ploy by the Pagulas to get a better arena deal? I don't think so. I think, like, you're not putting out a statement and then, okay, you're not saying, hey, hon, well, this is 31 years. After 31 years of marriage, I think it's time we're quitting. What? And then a week later, yeah, you know what I thought about? No, you're not going down that road. The Nighthawks are telling you that, like, Terry Pegula is out.
Correct. That was from the team itself today. Like, the CEO, Pete Welly, said that himself. Like, we wish the market well, but it's no longer handled by us.
I would just point this to, like, if we still had the Kim Pegula we wish we had.
Correct.
This would have never happened. She stepped in and saved it because it's her hometown. And I would say this to you, Mr. Guwelli, who once did radio here in Rochester, for those that remember. Yeah, it's not a good feeling, is it? Your hometown, that this bad PR. Where's the new owner? You have people. You can't find an owner? I'm not believing this, Tim. hope I'm wrong on this, but you wouldn't roll it out this way if you had somebody waiting in the wings. You would roll it out this way as here's your last warning, everybody in Rochester. You've got 3 months to figure this out.
Right, we're passing off the keys.
Yep.
Somebody's coming.
League is going to, League is going to take it.
So come July 1st, there's going to be more news. Hopefully it's good news, but
I don't.
Yeah, something's coming, and it doesn't feel.
You know what July 1st is, Tim? And spare me, you, and everybody else. Yes, it's Bobby Bonilla Day. Yes, he gets his $1.1 million from the Mets.
How many more years of that?
I don't know. It's in the next decade.
1 year closer.
Brayton Wilson is a baseball fan. Did you know that?
I did. Everybody should be a baseball fan.
Yeah, he loves baseball. Umpire himself, Brayton Wilson, WBEN. Talk about, all right, here's my question. All right, can we be optimistic about something on the show today? What does the ideal offseason look like for the Buffalo Sabres?
Oh, we're talking optimism with the Sabres? I'll try my hardest.
It's a fan, Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with
committed to finding a new owner that would keep the team here in Rochester. Tyrese Halliburton has a torn Achilles. He's going to miss next season. Head coach Rick Carlisle knows his team fought to the end.
To me, the fourth quarter, the effort that our guys poured into the fourth quarter to win the quarter by 1 point was epic, and it was symbolic of what this team stands for, what basketball in Indiana stands for. There was no surrender. It was just, it was all defiant fight to the end.
Anaheim today, trading Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia. We'll talk to Brayton Wilson, WBEN, coming up next. Wings off tonight. Syracuse coming to town tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
There was a period of time where Brayton Wilson was working in two markets, doing Howard and Jeremy, and then coming in to do Rochester Americans coverage for us. And after a while, that gets to be a lot. Now Brayton working for WBEN. Brayton Wilson joining us here. Talk a little hockey here today. Brayton, got me there? How are you, buddy? Let's try this again. We got nothing. You know what?
We're connected.
We're connected.
But it doesn't sound like he can hear us. So.
No. So, all right, what we're going to do, Brayton, is we're going to call Brayton here, if we can kind of do that. In the meantime, while I'm calling, terrible radio, Tim, tell us about your weekend, buddy.
Yeah, well, I watched some NBA Game 7. I watched Tyrese Halliburton. Actually, a terrible time Timmy take happened. I turned the television on to the injury of Tyrese Halliburton. That really was a bummer because I was kind of fired up to watch some NBA championship Game 7 there, and it just did not work out to the way that we would have liked to have that happen. So I was able to do that, and I was not disappointed.
Okay, there we go. You're done.
Awesome. Cool.
There we go.
Your turn.
Brayton joining us on the show. Brayton, thank you for sticking with us as we fumble around with technology. Brayton, appreciate the time. Now let me hit you out with a loaded question right off the bat. Ready for it? Okay, all right. So the ideal Buffalo Sabres off season, what would that look like?
Off season with some activity at this point. I don't even know what the expectations are with what kind of activity, because just the past couple of off seasons, it just seems like, hey, the talk's been there that something's going to happen. There's got to be moves. There's got to be something that drastically changes the dynamic of the team. And it just feels to this point that there hasn't been anything that's really changed the complexity and just making a real impact on, making the team better. And I just don't know what to expect at this point, just because the last few years, it seems like the talk's been there. The talk has been, something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden it doesn't happen. And it's just like, okay, well, I guess we'll see how this goes.
Well, are we at the point where Kevin Adams has to do something to save his job, Brayton? Because if we just get to all right, well, you know what, we went into, we got bargain basement guys that we really love their grit. Maybe they could be on the fourth liner. My expectation here is you're talking, a top 4 defenseman, a top 6 forward. Am I crazy for thinking that this should be the expectation?
I definitely think at this point that it is on Kevin Adams to really try to figure out a way to help or get help from a guy like Jarmo Kekalainen, who was brought in for this real specific reason. Kevin Adams, it seems like over the last several years has struggled to find ways to make moves and get them over the finish line to help really make a difference with this team. Over the last couple of years, he's talked about, we need to get a scoring winger and somebody with a veteran presence to help the younger guys of this group. Maybe those are two separate trades that you bring in, but still, regardless, they need the veteran presence to help the young guys continue their growth and their development on this roster. Jason Zucker was a huge addition last year to kind of help that, but they need to continue to further that going forward. And then they also need to bring in a scoring presence to play with a guy like a Tage Thompson. Even he scores a lot of goals, but maybe get somebody else that can put the puck in the net just as efficiently as he can. Or you find some depth scoring that can help out with some of the other guys that are developing in this system and in this organization. So, I mean, I think that there is a little bit of pressure on Kevin Adams this offseason to try and make a move in order for, maybe the talk of, oh, hey, this is just a situation where he either gets fired and Jarmo Kekalainen comes in and takes over and is the new general manager, or do they do something, work it out where Kevin Adams is moved to another role within the top of the organization. Kekalainen still steps in as general manager anyways, and then they kind of go from there.
Yeah, it seems like unless they win right out of the gate, Brayton, maybe, at the very least, then, okay, Kevin, you were doing business. Let's go back to that side of the building here, and we'll let Jarmo Kekalainen handle the decisions. One of those names that keeps coming up when we get back after the 4th of July, is J.J. Peterka still a Buffalo Sabre, Brayton? And if the answer is no, what are the Sabres getting in return for, I would think there would be a lot of teams that would be interested in a young player like that.
Yeah, the J.J. Peterka dilemma is certainly something that has been overshadowing this offseason, really ever since the rumors started kicking up again. I know that especially right before the trade deadline, when his name came up as a potential name that was going to be on the move, it was just one of those things where, are we sure we really want to trade J.J. Peterka? He's one of the guys that can score and put the puck in the net, and he's just an exhilarating young player. And now as the offseason has kind of gone along, it just seems more and more likely that Peterka is going to be on the move. It seems that, maybe he's just unhappy with the situation here that's taken place. And, it's not for a lack of that he's not playing. It seems more so like maybe it's a situation where he's just not happy in Buffalo and wants to be in a market, maybe a bigger market or a better market. I'm not entirely sure, but sadly, the more and more it seems like the days go on here, the more and more likely that J.J. Peterka is going to be wearing another jersey come the start of the 25-26 season. And listen, the trade value for him, it's, you hope that it's going to be something substantial. Kevin Adams, again, seems like he doesn't want to get anything in terms of first-round picks or second-round picks in return. He's going to want something that is either A, going to develop again this year in Rochester and be close to making the NHL roster, or it's going to be someone that's ready to jump into the NHL lineup right away and make a difference right away. And, how that's going to look, who's exactly involved and what pieces are potentially going to be in play, that's to be seen. But, I mean, it's a situation where I think it's very likely that J.J. Peterka has played his last game as a Buffalo Sabre, and the momentum is swinging that way.
Yeah, another name that's come up, Bo Byram. So Byram comes over in a trade, 1-for-1 for Casey Middlestat. And funny thing is, Colorado's like, okay, then Middlestat gets moved to Boston after that. Did we overvalue Bo Byram, knowing that, all right, maybe there was a few good moments, the idea that, Byram isn't a defender that can't, he can be a good complementary guy, but you're not having him as the top guy in any pairing. What are your thoughts on Byram, and should the Sabres move off of this defense?
Oh, personally, for me, I would not be looking to move Bowen Byram. I think he's exactly what your top – he's amongst the guys that you want to have as part of your top three defenders. I think that, yes, while the numbers indicate that if he's not playing with Rasmus Dahlin, he might be a bit of an analytical and on-ice nightmare. I mean, you can kind of see it in both the on-ice eye test or the analytics. But, he certainly has the potential that if he can get someone to kind of help him steer him in a good direction, and I think he's gotten some of that in Buffalo, maybe not entirely, but you see how well he moves around the ice. You see that he's a key guy that Lindy Ruff relied upon on a number of different situations last year, especially on the penalty kill and especially in his own end. He's a guy that moves the puck very well. He's a guy that can join the rush. He takes it himself when he's on the go. He was a guy that in Colorado, obviously he was seen as a young key asset to their blue line and helped them win a Stanley Cup, I believe, as a 19 or 20-year-old. And then, over the years, he's kind of struggled to find himself at the top level, and it showed when he got traded as part of the Middlestat deal, the 1-for-1 trade, that brought him to Buffalo. I still think there's a lot of potential with him there. Lindy Ruff seems to really like him, but we were talking about this, Paul Hamilton and myself, when we were hosting last week here on WGR, that, if it's a situation, though, where he wants to be a number one defenseman or a number two defenseman and play those key minutes and be a relied-upon guy, that's not going to happen in Buffalo. You got Rasmus Dahlin, who's arguably one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL, and then you have Owen Powers, a former number one overall pick in 2021, and those guys have been signed to long-term contracts. Those guys are going to be the staples of that blue line for years to come here. And where does Bowen Byram fit in that equation? Well, he may be playing penalty kill, but he maybe wants to be a number one power play guy or even a number two power play guy. And unless the Sabres are struggling on the power play, which we've seen a couple times here, or there's injuries, he's not getting that power play time. So if the hope for him is to go somewhere and be a number one, number two key defenseman for the team, at that point you should let him do that, and hopefully you get the return that is worthy and will help your team get better in other areas.
Yeah, there's so many questions here. Another question, and took us a few minutes in the interview to get to the goaltending here. And look, I had this take. I'm not going to back down on it. That Devin Levi has nothing left to prove in Rochester. Like, if he's going to be the guy, he needs to be up in Buffalo, and people want to say I'm wrong on that, but that's fine. We could debate that. But your thoughts on Levi, but then more importantly, like UPL, which in my opinion was a step back last year. So should the Sabres just roll out UPL and Levi and maybe a vet, or go big game hunting and try something different altogether this offseason, Braden?
Well, first off, Gene, I do agree with you. I don't believe Devin Levi has much to prove, if anything to prove, playing in Rochester anymore. I think that in Rochester he showed a lot of great flashes of his potential and growing at that level to hopefully where it translates well to the NHL level. I think he's done that very well. Now, did he play well in the series against Laval? Yes and no. There were a couple of games where he looked stellar. He looked like he was seeing everything, and things were coming to him naturally. And then there were other times where he tried to overplay a couple of instances, or he was maybe, slow to get to a couple of others. But a little consistency that we saw from him in that series before against Syracuse would have helped Rochester probably in their quest for a Calder Cup, and unfortunately it didn't happen. But when it comes to the NHL roster and the goaltending situation there, yeah, it definitely was a step back for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen this past year. He started to return and regress to a spot where he was before his season that earned him his big contract extension, where he just seemed to overplay everything that was coming his way. He seemed erratic in net at times. And the one thing that still irks me, at least, with Luukkonen when he plays is he just makes himself so much smaller than he is. He's 6'4", 6'5" in net, and he oftentimes finds himself in a position where he's crouched over and he's almost playing like he's 5'10", 5'11" in net. I think that's a huge disservice to himself when he does that, and he showed at least signs that he could be corrected that way, and he could play bigger and be a better presence in net. And unfortunately, he lost out that number one position last year to a 37-year-old in James Reimer, who, if I'm the Sabres, I don't know if you bring him back and you can rely on him to carry the load like Craig Anderson did a couple of years ago, with Luukkonen still developing and Devin Levi still kind of coming up in the ranks as well. So I think next year I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Devin Levi 1-2 punch here in Buffalo, and you kind of just hope that it works out. But we also have to remember Devin Levi's a restricted free agent. What kind of contract is he going to garner this offseason?
Yeah, that's a lot of decisions to make here. And Brayden, we had a draft here at the end of the week, and I don't even want to pretend like I know what to expect. Like, okay, so they'll draft somebody that maybe we'll see in Rochester. If things go really well, he starts off in Buffalo. That's the extent of my draft take for you. But I keep hearing this, like the Sabres will be open to deal. Like, look, realistically, unless you're packaging it with something else here, that the number 9 overall pick, I mean, it's tough to deal it, Brayden.
Yeah, it's been very rare over the years to see any pick within the top 10 being moved. I think the last trade was the Senators trading for Alex DeBrincat from Chicago. I think that was the last trade that we saw that involved a top 10 pick in the draft, and before that, we've only seen another handful of them. it's very rare to see a team moving within the top 10 in this draft class and being willing to trade that pick, knowing that, you're still going to get a decent, talented player within that top 10. Now, this year's a little different because I don't think this year the top 10 is very set in stone. You got Matthew Schaefer and Michael Misa, who are your arguably your top 2 players. I think Schaefer's going to go 1 to the Islanders, and Misa's going to go number 2 to the Sharks. But then the draft really starts at 3 with the Chicago Blackhawks. What do they have in the cards? What are they planning to do with that pick? And, they could go a number of different ways. There's talk that they could go Porter Martone. They could go Anton Frondell. They could go James Hagens. Or they can take a guy like Caleb Desnoyers, who's a guy that really shot up draft boards this year. That's the big team right now that it starts there. Utah's a team. They jumped up to 10 spots courtesy of the draft lottery, and they're a huge question mark in terms of what they're going to do. They're a team that might trade the number 4 pick as part of a package, I don't know, maybe to go get a guy like Noah Dobson from the New York Islanders, because the Islanders, I think it's an ownership thing where they really want to draft James Hagens, who's from Long Island, who grew up on Long Island. That's a guy that I think they really want to have, not just because of his talent level, but also because he's a hometown kid. So it's going to be interesting to see how the draft board falls. There's some interesting names that have been mocked a number of different ways to Buffalo at number 9. I just, all the talk, all the chatter over the years of, hey, there's going to be talk of big trades coming in the first round, where a couple of years ago there wasn't even a trade made in the first round, and every team stuck with their pick and then made the pick. And, in day 2, there were some other minor deals. Does it change this year? I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball to predict that. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is the year, given that the top 10 is kind of such a crapshoot anyway. There's some good talent there, but in terms of whether or not teams value one prospect over the other, there's a huge leniency there. So I could see maybe a team being willing to make moves up, moves down, or maybe just trade the pick entirely for something else, and then the pick or the player that is being moved garners that first round pick, and then the team that acquires it will make that pick.
We did have a trade today, and where the Sabres have the number 9 overall pick this year, the number 9 overall pick from 2019 on the move, Trevor Zegras going from Anaheim to Philadelphia. What did you make of that trade, and are we ready to welcome back Philadelphia as a team that could perhaps contend for a playoff spot here, Brayton?
I don't know. Trevor Zegras is a really talented player. He's shown in the years that he's played that he's got an immense amount of talent. Recently, he's had problems staying healthy and being able to be in the lineup on a consistent basis. And he goes from a team in Anaheim, which is young and very talented and kind of free-flowing with that talent and young talent, that he goes from there to a team like Philadelphia, who – they go from John Tortorella to another guy in Rick Tocchet as head coach, where Tocchet's going to be expecting a little bit more of his players. He's going to hold them a little more accountable, and he definitely allows for some of the talent to breathe and kind of flow on the ice a little bit. But, if you make a mistake, you're going to hear it from a guy like Rick Tocchet. He's not just going to, try to, just be the coach and just be someone that can help direct them in a better way by just giving words of encouragement. He's going to be a guy that's going to hold guys accountable. And if you don't perform on the ice, you might see that being impacted in your time on ice or even your ability to play. He might scratch you. Is Trevor Zegras going to go to Philadelphia and he's going to thrive with Rick Tocchet? I have a hard time believing that right now. I mean, time will tell when he does get on the ice, but he's got to stay healthy. He's got to be willing to show that he can be a complete 200-foot player, especially down the middle. If they do plan to play him at center, I can see him more being so a winger. But, it's enticing for sure, especially when you got a guy like Matvei Michkov who could potentially be on your other wing playing with you and being able to finish on those opportunities. It's an interesting trade for Philadelphia, but I'll be interested to see how it works out, especially with a guy like Rick Tocchet as the head coach.
I think dynasties are good for any sport if you like it, but then it gives you something to tune into. And the idea that the Panthers have this opportunity to become the first team since the Islanders of the early 80s to win 3 straight. My question is, of course they can do it, but are they able to keep the band together? Are they going to convince some of these guys to take less? I mean, Bennett, is he back? Marchand, I couldn't believe they got that much out of him. Your thoughts on what we might see out of Florida next year here and what they may be doing here coming up next week, Braden?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how that's going to all play out in Florida, given the talent they have, and given that people want to go play in Florida for whatever reason that is, whether it be the tax exemptions or whatever for players' contracts, or whether it's the nicer weather. I kind of throwing shades to the palm trees aspect of this, but certainly the Florida Panthers are a team that they've got a plethora of talent that's going to be hitting free agency this offseason. You made mention of it. Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, even Aaron Ekblad is going to hit free agency this offseason. What kind of attention is he going to garner in the free agent market, especially with Marchand? I know Marchand's 37, 38 years old, but he still seems like he's got the will and he's got the energy to keep going at the top level. And of course, Sam Bennett, who scored 15 goals and finished as the Conn Smythe winner for the Stanley Cup playoffs. If I had a guess, I think Sam Bennett is for sure going to stick around in Florida. He'll be there and he'll sign long term. But then the question comes to like a guy like Aaron Ekblad. He seems like he already kind of gave his swan song and his goodbye message to the fans at one of the rallies, saying how much he loved playing in Florida and how much he loved being part of the organization. He seems like a guy that's definitely going to be on the move. And then a guy like Brad Marchand is an interesting question, because he certainly seems like he wants to stay in Florida, but how much is Florida realistically going to be able to afford a bunch of these top-end guys on the contracts that they have? And I get it. The salary cap is going to go up substantially over the next 3 seasons, and there is the possibility that they can accommodate those big contracts. But there's only so many big contracts they can sign, and then they have to retain some of their younger guys too. So I'm interested to see how things play out with Florida this offseason, but I think regardless, they're still going to contend for the Stanley Cup, not just this upcoming year, but I think for years to come.
Brain, it's always good to catch up with you, WBN, on the news beat. But I would assume that we're going to have some takes from you. Where can people follow along coming up during the draft here, buddy?
Yeah, so I will be active on Twitter at Brayton J. Wilson. I'll also be putting up my one and only mock draft coming up, I believe, on Wednesday or Thursday at WGR550.com. It'll also be available, I'm sure, on your guys' website as well. But certainly going to be tracking along with all the moves that the Sabres make. And I'll admit, I'm going to be going on a cruise in Europe here coming up here next week. So trying to follow along with free agency and some of the other moves that could potentially be happening may be a bit tough. But when I come back or whenever I get the chance to interact, I definitely will be.
All right, full stop, because we let me and everybody else live vicariously through you. More details, cruise, like where are the stops along the way here, Braden?
So my wife and I and her family, we're going on a cruise in Iceland, and then we're going to be making our way through other countries like Norway, and we're going to make stops in like Amsterdam and Brussels, and then just going to be taking some time away to relax, decompress a little bit, and enjoy ourselves in the Nordic country a little bit and some of the other areas of Europe.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm going to have to pick your brain when you get back, Braden. That sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime sort of deal. Have fun, buddy, and don't worry about the draft. We'll have it covered for you.
Sounds good, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys very soon as well at training camp out in Pittsburgh. Always a fun time.
Yeah, like you'll be on the Bills beat there. Braden, thanks for your time today, bud.
Oh, absolutely, Gene. Thanks. Take care.
Take care. Braden Wilson, WBEN, joining us here.
Always good. Glad we were able to work that out.
Yeah, it's like, well, Danger's over in Europe. Brayton's headed to Europe, although I don't think their paths will cross unless he's going to, I know Danger's flying into Pearson Airport in Toronto, so maybe
that would be interesting if they were to cross paths along their intercontinental flights across different little fun zones. And I'm going to be here, and that's going to be just fine. I like it here, too.
We're going to be here not next week, but to the end of this week. And we got some time for your calls coming up here. We're calling it happy hour. We'll go over this statement from the Nighthawks.
Not very happy.
No, it's kind of bleak, actually. And anything in our town. See, the thing you and I love this town, Tim, and had a blast just going down to the Jazz Fest. Now you could say, "Oh, I don't like jazz." No, but if you like our town, it's like one of those things you're just going out there to see, and you're walking around like, wow, I'm in a real city. You're walking around downtown at night, and it was like that. Things like this, when you take them away from us, don't help our town because the Nighthawks do put people down in town into that arena. So maybe something will happen in the 11th hour. I'm kind of pessimistic about that. We'll talk about this, and anybody that wants to dive in, 866-4FAN, 866-4326 here on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening. HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
A statement from the Rochester Nighthawks today. As of June 30th, which is next Monday, the Pegula ownership will cease in Rochester. The National Lacrosse League says they're committed to finding a new owner that would keep the team here in the Flower City. Tyrese Halliburton has a torn Achilles. That's not good. He's going to miss next season. Rick Carlisle on his Stars postseason.
He authored one of the great individual playoff runs in the history of the NBA with dramatic play after dramatic play. It was just something that no one's ever seen, and did it as one of 17.
Trade today in the NHL. Anaheim sending Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia. The package going back the other way includes the number 10 overall pick at the draft this week. Wings are off tonight. Syracuse coming to town tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
A dream realized. The storybook season is complete. The final chapter reads the Oklahoma City Thunder are the 2025 NBA champions.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he is the first player in 25 years to be Finals MVP, regular season MVP, and the scoring champ.
Halliburton falls down, turns it over, and Halliburton is face down in the Indiana offensive end.
Kevin Durant has been traded to the Houston Rockets.
Mike Danger.
But I'm not going to let a spider take me out, I guess is what I'm saying.
Gene Battaglia.
And if somebody says credit card roulette, I respectfully decline.
The Ducks complete this trade Zegers to Philadelphia.
Jets owner Woody Johnson is paying $254 million for a 43% stake in English soccer club Crystal Palace.
LSU defeats Coastal Carolina 5-3 to win the College World Series.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour here. Welcome to the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Proud Rochesterian. Proud Aquinas grad. You're a proud Fairport grad, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Not too happy with another Aquinas grad, Pete Gawele. Gotta be honest.
He
Gotta
made
be honest.
some bad news today.
Well,
he's the fall guy.
He's
though,
the
isn't
fall
he?
guy, yeah, but for putting this out. Let me just read the statement that has Pete's name on it. Well, let me take a step back. First of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Your reactions at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can write to us, The Fan Rochester being our handle. He is, I'm at Gene Battaglia. He's at Womp Fump.
Yes.
Which we're not going to get into that now.
Thank you.
It's a story for another day. This is the statement for the Rochester Nighthawks. As of June 30th, we will no longer operate the Rochester Nighthawks. We've been working closely with the National Lacrosse League and will continue to assist the league as it pursues new ownership opportunities. We would like nothing more to see professional lacrosse continue in Rochester. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you to our fans for your support of the team over the last 6 years. We know how important this team is to the city and how passionate the fans are about the sport of box lacrosse. We know the NLL world work tirelessly to pursue the best path forward for the franchise. Pete Gawele, Chief Operating Officer. Okay. The signs were there. Let's start here. And we go back to, was it March, April 2024, when, oh gosh, the Pagulas are walking away from running the arena. And they realized we're not making money running this arena. We would just rather have a team or teams. So that was the first thing. If they're not going to run the arena, then they just provides a pathway where they could do something like this. So that went up for what they call an RFP, request for proposal, and it's an outside company, VenueWorks, and they operate a bunch of arenas around the country, and we welcome VenueWorks to Rochester, right? Right. Today, the press release goes out. VenueWorks and Rochester Americans announced 5-year deal. Like, okay, what about the Nighthawks? There's no press release from the Nighthawks. Oh.
But there is.
There is. You have to go to see the statement. And, Tim, I went to that last game of the season, right? The Nighthawks, we, amongst every other show here, we talked a lot of Nighthawks. And this was back in April 26th, Vancouver winning. That was the playoff game, I beg your pardon. The Nighthawks could have had a home playoff game.
Yeah.
The last home game for the Nighthawks, you had the Nighthawks not asking for season ticket renewals, not telling you, the fan, this is how you want to get involved. In fact, if you go to their website right now, there's nothing that says buy tickets here. So where the league is saying, hey, we're committed to Rochester, where the Nighthawks are saying, hey, we want the team to stay in Rochester, there's a team in Dallas, Texas, that folded last year in this league. Folded. You know why they folded? Because nobody else wanted to buy it and relocate it. That's why. So for everybody that's saying relocate, I put that as like the third option. Like, you could have had a team last year. You didn't.
Right.
And they just, okay, then everybody's out of a job there, basically.
The first regime, not to interrupt, I'm sorry. The first regime relocated back to their hometown. It's different now. It's a different era of NLL lacrosse. There's 7 or 8 more teams now. There's been dispersal draft after dispersal draft because they're finding markets that they're failing in. This isn't a failing market.
They couldn't keep a team down on Long Island. The New York Riptide, they were called, or whatever. They couldn't keep a team there. Okay, so, but this is a market. It holds its own. And I think this is my criticism for Terry Pegula and Pete Coelho. Ready? You're making hand over fist in Buffalo with the Bandits. We get that. Congratulations. You should have rolled up your sleeves a little bit more to make sure this team. But Gene, it's not over. That's correct. It's not over yet. I understand that. But you wouldn't have timelined this out this way had there been a new owner pending. That's just a fact. Because that new owner that's going to come in, let's say best case scenario, we get an announcement in July. Worst case scenario, hey, the team's still here, but we're going to find out in September. There's no time to sell sponsorship packages. There's no time to hire a staff. Like, you're going to have to hire, like, oh, by the way, what do we do with all those jobs? We're gonna lay people off with the Nighthawks? This is terrible, and this is why I think the PR hit isn't worth it. How much money were you actually losing on the Rochester Nighthawks?
When it really comes down to it, probably not much if you factor in all of the other business ventures that they have here. Like, that's just part of the deal of being a businessman with 4 sports teams just in this area.
Yeah, like, so whatever happens from here on in, okay, with the Bills and the Sabres, you're the girlfriend who cheated on us. Like, if the Nighthawks go away because you, Pete Coelho and Terry Pegula decided the profit margin wasn't there, then okay, then sure, you're paying. You are reminding us in very stark terms that this is a business. You're making hand over fist with the Bills. You should be making money with the Sabres. I don't know if you are or not. You're making money with the Bandits. Don't tell me you're not. You couldn't find another owner to keep things rolling here in Rochester. And I understand that maybe there's an announcement tomorrow. But to me, Tim, that would have been very, very clunky. You want to get the new owner in right now. That new owner should be excited to take over and get selling. Get selling right now. And anything that happens negatively toward our town, we are not Buffalo Junior in this town. Does everybody understand that? We're not Buffalo Junior.
We're treated as second class, but we're the same class with the same fan base, with the same interests, with the same things that we all care about, the same stuff around here sports-wise. Maybe not the same fandom, but everybody that is in Buffalo is very, very similar to everybody that is here. We are the same group of people, just an hour apart from
and 31 years. And listen, just hear me out for somebody who's like, oh, I don't care about the Nighthawks. I don't care.
But you care about the city.
You care about the city. You care about jobs. You care about the quality of life, okay? I'm going to give you another example. Maybe jazz isn't your thing. You should recognize that is a really cool event when you have thousands of people on a summer evening walking up Main Street and walking down East Avenue, and this is what real cities do. And can we have more things like this in our town? And there was the one year during the pandemic where the Jazz Fest, we're going to take it to RIT. Like, no. Look, I no disrespect to RIT, but the whole thing that makes the secret sauce there is we love the city. Let's go celebrate a summer evening in the city. Well, winners to me on Saturday night in Rochester. Okay, you got your choice RIT hockey, but the Amerks are always out of time on a Saturday night. It's Nighthawk lacrosse. So is there somebody in our town? And I don't know the answer to that. As they would say, my DMs are open at 866-4, our phone line too, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can hit us up on Axe. As, gosh, a lot of feedback here, Tim. Let me just kind of read a few of them. Hunter writing, it's bitter for sure, but the writing was on the wall. Like, the team was at least competitive, but so many Bandit fans in Rochester has burned fans, including myself. Yeah, I get that. Like, I've been to a Bandits Rochester game. And
well, it's very similar to the Amerks. You've got a rabid fan base.
Right. It wasn't a fun experience. Now that I can tell, like, since the ownership is like, if you're sitting around Bandit fans, it's not fun when you're in your home arena and like that gets taken over. And it's a credit to like what they built in Buffalo. And maybe the story, Tim, is ultimately this wasn't going to work from the get-go.
I think that you're spot on with that. Like they got some goodwill by bringing them back and owning both teams in the NLO. But if all it was to string it along for 6 years to walk away, that kind of seems to do more harm than good. That said, I assume this would have been brought up in the press release today. Maybe VenueWorks kind of pushed them out and they don't want to deal with them. But I feel like if that were the case, that would have been mentioned within that release. But there's a chance.
There's a chance, but here's why that would surprise me, because you got a deal done with the Amerks. And if you're the Amerks, you're saying, hey, we need this here too. Like if you're VenueWorks, let's take it from that angle. Is there something in our town, realistically? Okay, let's just kind of put our yes, I would love a Division I program in basketball. To all the school presidents, please, not happening. That's pipe dream. That's years down the road. I'm saying realistic things that you could bring in and fill the arena that we would actually care about. ABA basketball with whatever, no. Like semi-pro basketball, that's not it.
Right.
The WNBA would love. That's not coming to Rochester.
It would be awesome if it did.
Yeah, but that's not coming here. Is there something I'm missing out? Like, I don't even know. Do they even have arena football? We tried it once. Here's the thing I know about our town. Once the weather gets nice, we don't like to go inside, Tim. We like to be outside.
Right. We've got 10 dates-ish. 10 Saturdays, typically, right?
Yeah. I'm going to suggest one thing. What about the G League? But the G League's it's not really an East Coast league. I know there's a Westchester team. Could we have a G League team?
That would be intriguing, but is it worth trading for the Nighthawks?
No, it's not.
31 years.
31 years is not. Yeah.
For a minor league basketball team instead of a minor league lacrosse. It's not even a minor league lacrosse team. It is the premier box lacrosse team. It's just treated as a minor league sport.
It's treated just because when you compare it to other sports, there's no TV deal. You know, Dawson, the defenseman, works as a firefighter. We've had other guys that worked as financial planners. These are smart guys who love the game. And I'm going to make money on the side doing what I love. There's very few full-time guys. I'm going to make a go of it year-round. That's the reason why we don't consider it like major league. It'll get to some point, Tim, maybe 50 years down the road that indoor lacrosse maybe gets to that point. But we've been waiting a long time for that.
Even with the profits and whatnot being what they are, it's still a compelling product. Like it is a professional sport. It is a major league sport, but business side, it's not treated as such. But that's not my concern as a fan. I love the product. I don't need the players to be making $800,000 a year. It stinks that they have to have another job, but they love their sport too.
Well, and there's another thing too here. Like, will the Amerks get a bounce off this? The answer is yes, because there's a whole section of fans that, hey, hon, let's go out with the kids this week. All right, instead of choosing between the Nighthawks on Saturday or the Amerks Friday or Sunday, well, now that choice is made for you. Your money's going to the Amerks on this.
Right.
So that's why if they're running the numbers, the Amerks are going to get more profitable now here in Rochester. You can almost guarantee if like one team kind of goes away. But again, is there somebody willing to invest in our town? And by invest, maybe that's the wrong word, because when you make an investment, what do you want? A return. It's called return on investment, ROI. It's minor league sports, you're not going to get that. That's the thing. And that's why I'm kind of down on the fact that, is there somebody that's just going to say, here you go, Rochester. I grew up a Nighthawk fan, and now that I have millions of dollars, I want to give this back to the community. And, screw the Bandits. We're going to try to win a championship. Money's no issue. I don't know if that person exists in Rochester. And even if they did, I'd be like, sure you want to do that?
If you and I had substantial sums of money, I know right now this problem is solved, because we would just go and do it, because we love this area. And I personally, I need money, but I don't care about money.
Yeah.
That would be a fun little side project to have, and it would be interesting to be able to enjoy. Unfortunately, I have no money, so I don't get to be the Rochester Nighthawks savior.
What does it cost for a franchise in the National Lacrosse League? Well, this is where it gets really murky, right? If you have a team last year that just folded, that you couldn't find a buyer to relocate those jobs and everything else, we're just going to contract. That's what happened last year. Essentially, that's what the Pagulas are saying today. Hey, we would love to have a team in Rochester, but you know what? Do my keys. Here you go. It's all you. Your problem now, league. They are walking away. They were probably trying to find a buyer. No one was willing to make that investment. This league has gone into reverse. And I think that ultimately we could get mad at Terry Pegula and Pete Guelli, and I certainly I'm not happy with them, because you got into this, Mr. Pegula. You said it was a charitable donation. Literally. You said that at the press conference. And now it's not. You're done losing whatever money here. The one tweet I got here, let me just pull it up. Few of them. This is from Nathan. The National Lacrosse League is to blame for this. That absolute clown show with relocation expansion BS is what caused this. Yeah, you're not establishing value in a franchise. Like, you have a team folding last year. My read on this, you have another team that's on the verge of folding.
I think that they tried to boot the bubble. They burst it too quickly, and now they're paying the price for it. Because if you compare the history of the league, it's as long as the WNBA. The WNBA took a long time to kick off, and look at them now. And this league never really took off. They tried to do too much at once, and now places like Rochester may be paying
the difference is the WNBA always had the basketball tournament in March where we got familiar with the talent. Maybe we get to that point where more people are watching a Memorial Day weekend for the final and everything like that.
The TV deal and the exposure there.
Yeah, we have Jeff writing in. My kid's going to be heartbroken. That was our one thing we did every year. Yeah, that's the thing that sucked. Explaining this to your kid that, okay, we might not have the Nighthawks next year.
And do you drive him to Buffalo and become a Bandits fan? I don't know. It's the same owner that we're just angry at right now. That's tough to do. You can turn that into an Amerks night, but that's not what you're trying to do either. If you're going out for a Nighthawks lacrosse game, the fact that may no longer exist, that's not fair to those kids.
Yeah, so if you're just getting in your car, the Nighthawks putting out a statement saying they are walking away, essentially, coming up next Monday. So that's when the league takes over, and then what the league does. Do they really have a new owner? I have my doubts. If you're going to go over to the league, everything is on the table. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. John in Rochester. Hey, John, what's going on, bud?
Hey guys, I feel sorry for the Pagulas. Number one, what happened to Kim, but number two, they got screwed on that stadium. They had budgeted for maybe $550 million. They have to come out of pocket. There's another. They cost overruns at $800 million, at least. I think it'll probably be close to a billion. So that means they're out another $800 million on top of the $550 million they already put in. So they're cutting costs, man. I think they're going not broke, but they're looking out for themselves.
Well, all right. So this is. I don't agree with everything you said there, John, but that's fine. But to your point, they did welcome in investors, like for the Buffalo Bills themselves, and Tracy McGrady and some of those other guys there, Vince Carter, like that. You never would have thought, my gosh, you're going to invite private investment. You're selling a piece. They're cash poor. Okay. And I hear you, cost overruns, but that's a whole nother kind of thing. I don't feel sorry for any NFL owner when it comes to, they will make more money on that in the end. I think he's got a cash flow issue. But is this the Rochester Nighthawks are the reason for the cash flow? Exactly how much money do you really think? And John, you're a businessman. How much money do you really think they were losing on the Rochester Nighthawks annually?
Well, probably not a lot, but as a business guy, over the years, when times get tight, in fact, a good friend of mine is in the used car business, and pretty big used car business guy. And when things were bad, going back to 2008, 2009, he was cutting down on stationery, all the little things, water coolers, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell you, over history, in my time in business, I did the same thing. Sometimes you cut everything you can think of, and whether it's a big loser or not.
Yeah. No, John, these are the times we live in, and thank you for weighing in. Always appreciate it. John in Rochester, everyone. 866-4326-866-4FAN. But if you're going to get me to shed a tear because the stadium is going over budget, no.
Yeah, that's where I am too.
No.
I get it. Every dollar makes a difference, but if we're chopping the bottom rung before something in the middle tier, that's sure it makes a difference, but does it really change anything?
No, it's like these are jobs in our community. It's a quality of life in our community. That's my position on this. This is why you should care that the Nighthawks. Now, Tim, who knows? All right, maybe there is somebody from out of town that will come in. Hey, I'm ready to invest. Welcome. No one's telling me this off the record, by the way. I like to think we're kind of dialed in here. Like, no, you've got it wrong, Gene. Somebody's taking over. No one is saying that.
This is one of the rare times where you're begging to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm begging to be wrong. I want to be wrong here. But this is the last flare in the sky. Hey, you're in trouble. The Titanic's about ready to go down. You watched the movie? I remember watching the movie. Even back then in the early 1900s there. They shot off a flare into the sky. Hey, there's a warning. This is what today was. Putting out this statement that we love Rochester, we would love nothing more to see. And like, okay, the league isn't going to let you fold the team. You don't want to relocate the team. That's also part of it, too. Now, that could be part of this, too, Tim, that we need a 6 degree of separation.
Yes,
that
100%.
That the Pagulas have an offer, and an offer is from this other town, and there was a report last year that St. Louis was interested, and there was, Grand Rapids, Michigan, the report. These reports are out there. But that would look really bad if, in the city of our training camp home, we actually pulled a stunt like that.
We're smart enough to put it together.
We're like the Bisons. Whatever the hell they're called, the Orange Team, the Bandits. They're the model franchise. The league is going to help them out. And by doing so, the league will act as an intermediary. And now that I think this through, that might be the most logical explanation, that maybe this team goes somewhere else. But the idea that, hey, we want somebody in Rochester, that's the flare in the sky. It's like, okay, this is your warning.
We would love to keep it here. However, it's no longer our problem if we don't come July 1st.
Yeah, and and I want to just stress this point again, why I'm concerned. Nobody's asking you, the Nighthawk fan, for that deposit, are they? That's an easy thing to do. It's so easy. Like, okay, you know what? Here's your money back.
And that's what happened, two different sets of circumstances, but 30 years ago with the Hartford Whalers. They did that. It's like, let's have a season ticket drive. We'll keep them. And then they hit their goal, and they pulled them out from under them anyway.
You don't have to go back that far. You go back to the Arizona Coyotes last year, and the owner sells, and then like the question, like, hey, what are you're going to refund it? Oh, give me a break. I got to breathe. Okay, well, that guy is gone. He got paid off. Everybody got their money back. It's like the concert that doesn't happen. I had the 2 dates there for Billy Joel. Unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to be alive, be able to perform again.
I was actually able to go to the redo.
And and so I got my money back from the ticket company. So that's kind of what happens. That would have been an easy, if nothing else, Tim, you ask people, your Nighthawk season ticket holders, for a deposit, and you collect the interest on that. But you know what? They didn't even do that.
Invest in us.
So the warning signs, folks, have been there, but that doesn't make it any right or wrong. Anything that happens in our town, we're going to care about on this show. And I think it just kind of sucks. I honestly, I really do.
This very sucks because when you can see it coming, and not everybody could see it coming, that's the unfortunate part. If the writing's on the wall, but nobody's reading it, it's not really there to everybody. Now that it's a thing, the writing's on paper, and we're talking about it, more people are aware of it. It's not causing the uprising that it maybe they desired, but we need to do something. We need to figure something out before it's too late.
We got other stories in sports we can get to. We got College Shots. We round up everything, and playing the role of Mike Danger today, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Schneider in your program today, and all this week actually, wearing his Bonnie regalia. See, had I known that, I would have worn my Fordham things.
Maybe tomorrow.
We've got the NBA we can get to, another injury for the Yankees. Who's the best player in sports that we're not talking about? And there was somebody in the world of business that passed away. I had no idea he had an NFL connection. Did you know this story?
I learned all of it this weekend.
I was like, wait a second. And I think it's a credit to this coach that he came from wealth, and I never knew this. 866-4FAN here on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Future of the Rochester Nighthawks in our town in jeopardy. The Pagula ownership walking away from the team as of June 30th. It'll go over to league control on that date. The league says they're committed to finding a new owner that would keep the team here in the Flower City. Tyrese Halliburton, the news not good. He has a torn Achilles. Halliburton will miss next season. Rick Carlisle proud of how his team fought to the end.
To me, the fourth quarter, the effort that our guys poured into the fourth quarter to win the quarter by 1 point was epic, and it was symbolic of what this team stands for, what basketball in Indiana stands for. There was no surrender. It was just, it was all defiant fight to the end.
Anaheim trading Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia. The Wings are off tonight. Syracuse coming to town tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Just an interesting thing. Social media can be such a cesspool, right? But every once in a while you see a video that sparks something, and somebody did a side-by-side, Tim, welcome to the sports bar, shots here in the sports bar, side-by-side of the Panthers winning the Cup and Oklahoma City winning the NBA championship. And I don't know if it's just obviously it's just the culture in both sports, like the Stanley Cup, but for an NBA championship, it just looked like another win for those guys. They're just kind of shaking hands. There wasn't really any jumping around. And so where the Florida Panthers and every other team that's won a cup, they look like children when they're jumping around. But that's what we expect, the gloves and the sticks and everything going in the air and after such a long battle. But you didn't get that celebration whatsoever last night from the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Part of that might have been because of the devastating injury to Tyrese Halliburton. Part of that also may have been that Florida Panthers team was the 5 or the 6 seed in the East if you broke it down the old way.
Right.
That was not a Cinderella story, but they busted their ass to get to that point, and they succeeded in their endeavor. Oklahoma City won damn near 85 games over the course of the year. That was just doing their job.
Maybe this is like they're just like these kids that come through. They're just kind of stripped down and of emotion and everything else, and it's just kind of another win where obviously the fans were going crazy for that. Canadians are going crazy. They're taking great pride in the fact that SGA is the first from their country to win the NBA Finals MVP. SGA also becomes the first player in 25 years to win the scoring title and then win the Finals MVP in the same season.
That was awesome. But another thing about Canada, I don't know if you know this, fun little fact. All 3 reigning champions.
Yep.
Freddie Freeman in the majors, Sam Bennett in the Stanley Cup, or the Conn Smythe, SGA in the NBA. That's
I had no idea.
Pretty cool.
I had no idea Freddie. I'm being honest. I never had no idea Freddie Freeman was from Canada.
Sure is.
Kevin Durant's a Houston Rocket.
Okay.
Now, as a result of the trade, the Rockets' odds to win next year's NBA championship. Okay, full stop. I detest this stuff because everybody is like, we can't get like a moment to breathe, but if it's newsworthy, I'm going to pass it on, where the odds went from 18-1 to 8-1. Are you kidding me? Only Oklahoma City at plus 250 has better odds to win the championship next year. Phoenix may have one guard too many now that they got back Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the number 10 pick in next year's draft, and 5 second-round picks, the last one being in the year 2032. Tim, I'm not sure if I'm here in 2032, and I know you're not sure if you're here in 2032. Jalen Green is good. Green averaging 21 points for the Rockets. That was their team high last year, so careful here if you're the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, it's the same thing kind of with like the way that Oklahoma City and Indiana were both built. They gave up a certified star for lesser-known budding stars. It worked out pretty well for both of them. I don't know that Phoenix will benefit the same way those two teams did, but Jalen Green is more than just good. He might not be a superstar, but he's a really, really good player who's very young. Kevin Durant is 37 years old. How much more does he have left in the tank?
The hits keep on coming for the New York Yankees. The team placing lefty starter Ryan Yarbrough on the injured list with an oblique strain Alan Williams, excuse me, got to put my readers on. Winions. Is that how we say? Winans. Yankee fans screaming at Ray right now because you know what? They were expecting his call up. He was 7-0 with a 0.90 ERA at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Yeah, I think he's worth a look there if you're the Yankees. Yarbrough becomes the fourth starter to go down for the Bombers, joining Garrett Cole, Luis Heel, and Marcus Stroman. Can we talk about Seattle's Cal Raleigh here for a second?
Unreal, yeah.
He's
big dumper.
Up to 31 homers. He leads the majors. Not only that, he's the first switch hitter to have 30 before the All-Star break ever. And we have 3 more weeks before we get to the break. 3. All this coming at the position catcher where normally you don't get anything close to that sort of production.
He's having a phenomenal year, and because of the position he plays, he may tail off a little bit in the second half, but the fact that he's on a pace that hasn't really been seen since Sosa, Bonds, and McGuire, pretty impressive stuff here.
It is impressive. Now,
we're talking 60 from the catcher position.
That was some good old-fashioned Windy City baseball, though, over the weekend. Okay, fine.
Take it.
Other teams play there, too. So take it. I don't know if any of them were directly win-aided, but Cal Raleigh, most underrated, the biggest star we're not talking about in any sport today?
I would agree with that assessment based on the position that he plays, the season that he's having, possibly the market that he's doing it in. Is a detriment?
I'd say 100% that because West Coast baseball, most of us, Tim, we're not staying up. And the ESPN Sunday night package, I mean, credit to them, but they're going to go with Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, whoever, Yankees, Boston. They're not giving you an array of teams there. They're just not. In fact, it wasn't until last year, like, hey, Seattle's on Sunday Night Baseball. Really? It was like the first time in forever that they put them on. And they have other young, talented players there.
Yes, they do. And what he's doing is literally unprecedented for multiple things. Batting, the switch hitting part, the catching part, the having a full month to do it even more so. It's been really fun to watch this first half of the season, and we're not even really close to the end of the first half of the season.
So over the weekend, Fred Smith passed away. Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. Who knew? My gosh, you would think that's been around forever. It hasn't. Self-made billionaire, right? This I never knew. Fred Smith, the father of Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, going back to his days as the head coach of the Falcons. Look, Tim, I didn't really have much respect for Arthur Smith, but he never, to my knowledge, ever pulled the privilege card. NFL coaches don't have that much of a life. You're working constantly. This guy could have been on a beach somewhere, but yet he's still trying to chase a ring there.
It's entirely possible that he got into that spot through connections that his family had, but he's never used it to his advantage and never used it as an outward gloat. But he may have gotten his foot in the door that way, but he earned that foot in the door to keep it in there. So that is cool.
There was one time, Evan Dawson, WXXI. He was a talk show, and I've known Evan for a number of years. And this is when Kim Pegula was making her first serious run at a Grand Slam event. It was the Australian Open. We're all kind of excited, and everybody being provincial the way we are. Tim, go. And Evan had a take that, well, of course, because she had only the best coaches and the best training and the best this and the best that. And it's kind of along with your point there. Yes, that can open a door. But once you are given that opportunity, that's not going to automatically make you a professional tennis player. You have to. So privilege does. You can't discount it altogether. But That's not what made Arthur. And quite honestly, I don't like Arthur Smith. I thought Arthur Smith, going back to his days in Tennessee, was a little quirky. Going back, anybody who plays fantasy football, you're not giving the ball to Bijan Robinson. What is wrong with you? And Steeler fans right now are nodding their head. Yeah, we don't like him either.
You've been afforded an opportunity. Taking advantage of it doesn't mean anything other than you did the work that you were asked to do and succeeded immensely at it. So yeah, there's some opportunities that you are not provided based on maybe financially or who you know. But once you take the opportunity and run with it and earn it on your own, congratulations, more power to you, and keep up the good work.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. Last call is coming up next. Your thoughts on the Pagulas pulling out of Rochester when it comes to the Nighthawks? Anything else that's on your mind? Last call for you at 866-4326 here on the Fan Rochester.
Sean McDermott, the players, and from national guests plugged into everything NFL, as well as our inside analysis here at One Bills Live as we cover the team here every day.
We are your one-stop shop for Bills football, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. and noon to 3 after game days. It's One Bills Live with Chris Brown and Steve Tasker on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, Tim, we got so much going on in the show today. You texted me over the weekend. I got a text, too, from friend Steve that said, hey, you know, with this, you know, will Josh Allen be at the Killers concert? And this is what I would say to anybody. Welcome back to the sports bar. If you're going to the Killers concert, that's to enjoy the music of the Killers. If you're going there as a Bills fan, hoping to see your favorite Buffalo Bill on stage, I would see if we agree on this. I would temper your expectations on that.
Oh, I completely disagree. I think they are 100% there.
Get out!
Between the training camp schedule and the fact that that's become not their full identity, but like that is something that every single person that is a football fan
I'll meet you halfway on that. I would think like Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, since they started the whole thing, that those would be the two. But these guys, time off during camp, I'm just saying don't bank on it. I know it's a contrarian kind of viewpoint.
Perhaps not the whole roster, but I can promise you, without knowing for sure, I can promise you there's a good chunk of Buffalo Bills at that show. Maybe not accessible to you guys.
Dude, they'll be there. No. Yeah. Absolutely not. Like,
it's too perfect not to.
No, dude, like I would say the majority of that team, that's not their genre of music, the Killers. Nothing wrong against the Killers, and we want you to go out and support the Killers, right? It's kind of a weird song, though. Can we just admit that?
Lyrically, it is a very strange song.
It's a very strange song. Like, okay, my girlfriend left me for another guy, but I'm going to be fine. Yay! Who came up with that idea like that?
In high school, that was like one of my least favorite songs because of how popular it was. Not even the lyrical content. It was just like, that's kind of the music that I enjoy a lot. But then everybody liked it, and I was like, man, this isn't really for me if everybody likes it.
Peter writing in, I wonder if this is a record. 5 championship teams have left Rochester. The Royals in 51, the Lancers in 1970, the Rhinos, the Nighthawks, and the Razor Sharks. I'm going to take off the Razor Sharks and hear why, Peter, because that's semi-pro. Like, there were some teams that weren't even paying. So, yeah, but I would replace it with another team that very few know about. And since this was a show a lot to do with lacrosse, a team called the Rochester Griffins. And maybe you've noticed that they've had that banner up in the Blue Cross Arena from time to time. In the early 70s, won a championship.
I always thought it was the Zeniths, but it's the same.
No, that's indoor lacrosse. Did the Zeniths win an ABA championship?
I remember a banner up there back when I was a kid. So
I'm guessing the Zeniths did, but they played at the Dome Arena, I want to say. By the way, if we're going down that road, then the Rochester, the Rochester Raiders won. But again, yeah.
The Rattlers, did they ever win one?
I don't think they did. The West New York Flash did their last season, then they bolted.
A whole lot of winners in this town for a little while.
Yeah. Peter, thanks for writing in. Tomorrow on the show, Matthew Fairburn from The Athletic will talk a little bit about what the Sabres moves in. And yes. With the summer here, let's talk about your fantasy football, top of the order. Michael LaFlorio, the NFL Network, will talk some fantasy football coming up tomorrow. If you missed any of the show, you can download the free Odyssey app and listen back at your leisure. Coming up next, it's the JR Sport Brief. For Tim Schneider, my name is Gene Battaglia. This is The Fan Rochester. I hit the post, bam.